Greetings in the name of the Most High Jah Rastafari. This is Agil Ginger and Sister Jenny, Auntie Jenny. And if you want to get formal, is Miss Jennifer Frederick. Another edition of Let Talk the Ting. People, today is Friday. The week is over already. Just now it's Christmas. I don't start up your kind of Christmas songs, all kind of thing. Listen to me now. What is this coming up here? Okay, sorry about that. You know how technology is. Something come up, they tell me some kind of foolishness. So as I was saying, what is this? What's going on? All kind of thing only popping up. So as I was saying again, today's Friday. Time and tide waits on no one. They already start to play Christmas commercials. I don't know where they think the people get any money from. I really don't know. But how much thousands of people that have lost their jobs, been fired, CPEP, URP, reforestation, and it goes on and on. So I don't know what Merry Christmas some people are going to be having. However, we are resilient people at the end of the day, and we would get through this. We have to be, I will leave that talk right there. People, thank you for joining, coming on, share the life, share the life. You know, like to say that, share the life, share the life. So people, you know, let me start this thing right. There's so much to talk about, really plenty to talk about. And you know, me I just talk the thing, because it is what it is, right? So let me start this with the anthem first. And it wouldn't be my show unless we heard the pledge.
I solemnly pledge to dedicate my life to the service of my God and my country. I will honor my parents, my teachers, my leaders, and my elders, and those in authority. I will be clean and honest in all my thoughts, my words, and my deeds. I will strive in everything I do to work together with my fellow men of every creed and race for the greater happiness of all and the honor and glory of my country.
So people, we would have had some sporting victories. Jereme Richard, Jereme the Dream Richards, and our Kishon Walcott. Kishon Walcott is our Olympian. I always say when he won the javelin, I wasn't even aware that it have anybody in this country practicing javelin. And I sure he would have caught the world by surprise at that Olympics, winning gold for Trinidad and Tobago. And the sky has been the limit since then. And of course, our own Jereme Richards, called the Dream, has been really, really pumping it for Trinidad and Tobago. Not only him, of course, we have our other athletes, but right now they are the ones who are starring. So let me just play you this from Keshon.
Feels great, man. It feels great. Like it's been a long 13 years. Like just being persistent. Like I always like since 2016 has been my last time on the podium, and the World Championship medal has always been out of my reach. But finally tonight I've gotten it, and like I couldn't be more happy. Like I'm grateful to be able to deliver this medal for my country because I know the people has been like a little bit restless when it comes to the medals, but I'm finally able to deliver once again a gold medal to my country. So I'm thankful, you know. I would like to thank everyone who's just been there supporting me. You know, it's been ups and downs, but I've had a lot of good people in my corner, keeping me there, keeping me motivated. You know, just keep trying and keep going because you know they have times when you would just want to say that okay, maybe it's too hard, maybe it's not for you, but. I want to thank my coach for actually trusting me this year and giving me the chance to be able to be coached by him, you know, and we made some good changes and you can see it paid off tonight. So that was one of the biggest blessings I can say for 2025.
Yeah. That's our Keshawn Walker Days has been 13 years. Cool. World Championship. Let us go to Dream and then I'll come back to our conversation I want to have with this.
It feels great, glory to God. After missing out on a medal last year at the Olympic Games, not having medal in a major championship outdoor since 2017. You know, sometimes as an athlete, it gets a bit discouraging. And I've been thinking it for a while, coming to these championships and leaving empty-handed, making finals, but just falling short. It was disappointing for a while, but I kept praying. I didn't give up. I kept asking God to give me patience, and He gave me patience. And when my time came, it came, you know, so I'm just thankful to God for blessing me with this medal.
You've been around for such a long time, playing with 200s, 400s. What kept you going? What was your biggest motivation all those years?
My wife, my daughter, my family, my mom, my dad, each and everyone that support me was my motivation. But most of all, I would say I want to, you know, be able to pull people to Jesus Christ, but also the dreams and aspirations that I had when I was a little boy. I saw myself doing all these great things. I saw myself achieving these medals. So when I think about giving up, I think about that young Jareem that wanted to win, that wanted to be on the podium, and I keep working hard towards getting to those goals. It comes with a lot of time, it comes with a lot of prayer, it comes with a lot of sacrifice, but most importantly, it comes with a lot of patience. And I had to be patient all these years, and I mean, it finally paid off today.
So you're not giving up for the next season. You definitely have more motivation for the upcoming season. You know, World Indoors are coming up. You know, more competition. So you're ready for that?
Yes, for sure. But I try to take it one step at a time. Let me just enjoy this a little bit. But of course, when I'm done with track, I want to have a really good legacy, and this is part of that legacy, and I want to continue it as long as I can. So I just trust in God and keep the momentum going.
Trinidad and Tobago, it's not a big country, so this achievement is very important for you. So how do you think it's going to look like back home in your country? Do you think they're going to celebrate and, you know?
I pray they celebrate it because we're only a population of maybe 1.4, 1.5 million, and we were able to come back with 2 medals, a gold and a silver. By the way, Keyshawn Walcott is my roommate, so there has to be some type of greatness in that room, you know, so I mean, I hope our country appreciates us as athletes and what we do for the country.
Today, definitely lucky day for your country.
Definitely a blessed day for Trinidad and Tobago.
The same, but you know, it should fit.
He wants it.
Yeah, man. You can lift him. Oh, wow. Oh. Can you do it one more?
Beautiful the camaraderie, Trinidad and Tobago. I tell you, we have a love, we have a togetherness. It's only some people. Some people just want to bring the dirty, heavy, bad spirit and bad man and vibes to cause that kind of thing. But let me tell you, love does conquer all. And let me tell you something. We have to celebrate this victory with them. We have to celebrate this. But when I heard the Minister of Sports, the new Minister of Sports, I think he's saying something, if I'm mistaken, about studying how they're going to honor the 2 athletes. It's good, man. That's good. But I want to tell them something and the supporters something. Who some of them saying is because Kamala Persad in office since April, why these two guys won these medals. Overall, it's so petty and foolish, boy. You think in 4 months' time that they could have do the work to win any medal? You how long they sit out there? 2016, 2017. It's years of work. But I want to tell them something and probably to tell some of you who don't know about the sports policy that was developed by the People's National Movement under Dr. Keith Christopher Rowley. And that sports policy was introduced 2017 until 2027. Here what this policy is about. It's the Elite Athlete Program. It's a program that gives elite athletes money to prepare themselves for international sporting events. The financial resources could be used for purchasing equipment, supplements, paying coaches, hotel accommodation, food, etc. So give them that peace of mind when they would rather look for that. Then there was another part of the sports policy where the elite athletes, when they win in the games out there, like how eXtinctioN and Jorim win the game out there, if they get a goal, it's 500,000 TT dollars. Silver, 200 TT dollars. Bronze, 125,000 TT dollars. If it's at the Olympics, another part of the sporting policy, that elite athlete getting $1 million for gold, $500,000 for silver, and $250,000 for bronze. Right? That is a policy developed by the People's National Movement and Dr. Keith Christopher Rowley, 2017 to 2025. So don't operate UNC as if all they had anything to do with these two guys winning anything. It's their determination, their hard work, their prayers, their tears, and the assistance also they got under the sports policy that was developed by Dr. Keith Christopher Rowley and the People's National Movement. I want to say something again. It's a disturbing development happening now, where NGC, which is the National Gas Company, cut sponsorship from steel band, 2 or 3 steel band, and they also cut funding for track and field. What's really going on? The chairman of that new board is Gerald Ramdeen. And I heard MP would have mentioned the fact, and other people, when you look at the boards and them, that this UNC is putting together in all areas is a large percentage of people of Indian descent. I just asking a question, you know, it ain't looking good, it ain't looking right, because I want to say that some people might vex with me. People of Indian descent usually take part in cricket, not football, not athletics. Really, no, they don't. Steel pan, no, those are not things that traditionally, I'm not saying that it's only people of African descent who play pan or take part in sports, but understand the context. Why would NGC, the National Gas Company, cut sponsorship from 2 steel bands, where young people could go learn pan and they have the steel orchestra and them, or the steel pan have the all different kind of programs, mentoring and all. So it's not just about playing pan. The young people who come there, they are mentored, they learn so much other things. Why would they cut it? Is it because a large percentage, I talking real or no? Is it because it's a large percentage of African people and track and field? Why would all cut sponsorship from track and field? That's to help develop the young athletes so they can reach the Julian Richards standard and all the other athletes standard. Is it because it's a large percentage of people of African descent? I'm just asking a question because I comment on something. You know. So I want to say again, congratulations. I don't want to mar the victory in this conversation, but we mustn't be afraid to have these conversations. Congratulations again to Kishon Walcott and Jorim the Dream Richards on their victory after how many years in World Championship. Everything that they want for themselves, I hope they get. But I also want people to remember the People's National Movement would have also contributed by taking a little financial stress off their minds while they out there training. And when they win, while it's not US dollars, it's TT dollars, they could invest it $1 million. If it's Olympics, if it's other championship, $500,000. Silver have the price, and bronze the same thing. I want to go to this because this is why I'm raising this issue. So all of them, when UNC want to take over, like it's them. I want all to remember when PNM was in office. This was in the Daily Express, 14th August 2024. Shamsa defends 0.25 million check for elite eXtinctioN. Why was eXtinctioN Walker given $250,000 in taxpayers' money? That was amongst questions answered yesterday at a news conference hosted by Minister of Sport and Community Development Shamfa Kojo Lewis in the VIP lounge, Casey Crawford Stadium, Port of Spain. She addressed queries surrounding the government's support for sports, chief amongst them Trinidad and Tobago's participation at the 2024 Paris Olympic Games, which concluded last Sunday, where TNT was represented by a team of 17 athletes. For the second straight Olympiad, Trinidad and Tobago did not secure a medal at the Games. Kojo Lewis explained why four-time Olympian Walcott continues to receive state funding. On Monday, the two-time Olympic medalist in the javelin, gold at the 2012 London Olympics and bronze at the 2016 Rio Olympics, was presented with a check for $250,000 provided under the Sports Ministry Elite Athlete Program Assistance Program. Walcott finished seventh in the men's javelin finals in Paris last week. Today, I saw on social media responses to eXtinctioN Walcott collecting a check of $250,000 in support from the government on Monday, and many people would comment saying, "What did he win?" said Kojo Lewis. She said because Walcott was in the top tier, according to the elite athlete policy, he is eligible for $250,000 per year in elite athlete funding. The next category includes athletes like veteran sprinter Misha Liahi, who receives $187,000 per year, while upcoming athletes also eligible to receive development support. Kojo Lewis indicated that specifically for the 2024 Olympics, government had supported the athletes going to the games to the tune of $1.5 million. And between 2015 and 2024, government had contributed more than $400 million to sporting organizations, athletes, and non-government organizations to the tune of $40 to $50 million per year. We have contributed at least $400 million to national governing bodies, to sports clubs, and to athletes of Trinidad and Tobago, she stated. Kojo Lewis said government had continuously supported athletes throughout the years via the Elite Athlete Assistance Program, which allows athletes such as Ai, Walcott, Jareem, the Dream Richards, to continue their training leading up to major international events. Elite athletes are not made in an Olympic year. It takes time, it takes effort, it takes resources. Likewise, it takes just about everyone in the ecosystem to make success happen, Kojo Lewis said, while justifying government's continued funding for the elite athletes. For instance, in Jamaica, they received the support of the government after they qualified for the Olympics to the tune of US 15,000 per athlete, she noted. On the other hand, Kojo Lewis said Trinidad and Tobago government provided elite funding to TNT athletes in and out of Olympic cycles and in and out of high competition season. Of the 17 athletes who went out to Paris this year, we had 8 of them applying for funding and receiving funding. They are actually those who have not applied at all this year or in the years before, and there are actually 2 who applied and received funding that didn't make it to the Olympics, Kojo Lewis disclosed. She said athletic organizations and coaches have to be introspective and take into account what they are not doing right. There is need for also for national governing bodies to come to the table and discuss culture, accountability, long-term athlete development, and working hand in hand, she emphasized. Kojo Lewis said despite receiving government funding, national sporting bodies are independent, therefore the government cannot directly intervene in how they run, despite suggestions made by some persons. I cannot make the NAAA, that's the National Association of Athletics Administration, work with multiple Trinidad and Tobago medalists, also Bolden. Now an analyst with American Network, NBC, she said, and I cannot make Otto Bolden work with the NAAA. Joining Kojo Lewis at yesterday's news conference was Larry Romani, who has replaced Douglas Camacho as right, but the salient point is this. The PNM government continue to support the elite athlete under that assistance program in and out of season to help them to continue to develop and to work and have that pressure of the mind. And she had was to go and explain to the population why the government, the PNM government, was giving Kishon Walcott money, although he didn't medal. And she had to remind them about the elite program. So today, when Kishon Walcott win, and people want to talk about the UNCs because UNC in office, I want them to know it has nothing to do with UNC. I want to warn our Olympians, because I remember when Kishon Walcott did win the Olympics for the javelin first time, UNC was in office. And that was before the elite program. And they had this child, excuse me, up and down on a truck whole day. I hear the food that they had all in the truck after it was sour kind of thing, had it up and down, all over the place. Then it is alleged she did get some place in Port of Spain. They were given some place in Port of Spain. It is alleged that I don't know what was happening. He ended up leaving there and go right back up in Tuku. Probably for the peace and quiet and to rejuvenate his spirit from them zombie and them. I don't know. I just seen. I don't know. And he went back there because his coaches go. He won it. So I hope this time, Kishon, remember what happened in 20, wherever, when they was there. Don't be going up and no truck all over the place. The meeting the airport, thankful thing, you go to ceremony. Don't be driving on no truck all over Trinidad and Tobago till all over night. You're going past that. Okay. I just wanted to rest that there. Address had to rest it there. Let me continue. So let me show, I like to show a little of history because we tend to not, some of us not understand the rich African history that we have. So let me just play this to you all. So again, congratulations to Kishon Walcott, Jerome Richard, and all our athletes who continue to make Trinidad and Tobago proud.
You think you know Black history? These 7 facts will blow your mind. Fact 1. The world's richest person ever was a black man. Mansa Musa of Mali was so wealthy in the 1300s that when he traveled to Egypt, he gave away so much gold, he crashed their economy for a decade. Fact 2. Your morning coffee exists because of a black inventor. Alfred Krall invented the ice cream scoop in 1897, but more importantly, coffee plantations worldwide used techniques pioneered by enslaved Africans who knew advanced agricultural methods. Fact 3. The first person to die in the American Revolution was a black man. Crispus Attucks was killed in the Boston Massacre in 1770, 5 years before the war even officially started. Fact 4. Black Wall Street was real and it was spectacular. Tulsa's Greenwood district in the 1920s had more millionaires per capita than anywhere else in America, until it was destroyed in 1921. Fact 5. A black woman mathematician helped put humans on the moon. Katherine Johnson's calculations were so trusted that John Glenn refused to launch until she personally verified NASA's computer calculations. Fact 6. The oldest university in the world was founded by a black woman. Fatima Al-Fihri established the University of Al-Qarawiyyin in Morocco in 859 AD, over 200 years before Europe's first university. Fact 7. Black inventors created the traffic light, the gas mask, the mailbox, and the super soaker. Your daily life is shaped by black innovation at every turn. History is so much richer than they taught you in school. Follow for more facts that change everything.
So people, that is some Black history for us to understand our ancestry and to understand inventions that we take for granted and feel that as Caucasian people, the slave master children is actually people of African descent, enslaved Africans, and their children coming out of enslavement, civil rights movement, and all that. Yeah, we were movers and shakers just like anybody. People, I got this judgment in my hand here, and it disturbed me. I go in union for a couple of minutes. It disturbed me. I want all to understand why this disturbed. This here I have in my hand, the Republic of Trinidad and Tobago Trade Dispute number 567 of 2014. The industrial court between Bankers, Insurance, and General Workers Union, we call that Big U, that's the acronym, Ministry of Works Unemployment Relief Program, party number 2, and the Chief Personnel Officer, party number 2 also, 1 and 2. So there are 2 parties. So it's Banking, Insurance, and General Workers Union, and Ministry of Works and Employment Relief Program, and the Chief Personnel Officer, right? Why does this judgment have me concerned? I will just tell you a little about what it is. So the substantive issue. In 2004, there was a worker, I'm putting it my way to right. There was a worker employed as an assistant coordinator by the URP, and she worked continuously in that position until 2010. When her position was changed to that personal development officer in Region 2. The worker last contract of employment was for a period of 1 year and was dated February the 25th, 2013. Her salary at the time of her dismissal, they gave her salary along with traveling. The worker had personality conflicts with her URP regional manager, and the result, because of her concern for her safety, she was relocated to the office of the Honorable R. Indar Singh, the Member of Parliament, Hoover South. Mr. R. Indar Singh in the then United National Congress government. On October the 20th, 2013, that worker attended a prayer meeting for the local government candidate of the People's National Movement. That worker was summarily dismissed via a phone call she received from the then Minister Indar Singh on the night of the 20th of October 2013. Right? Let me read something else here for all you. I want to take any petition because I better something. I can't read the whole judgment, but I can read parts. Analysis. The worker suffered verbal and physical abuse at the hand of her regional manager, Mr. Raj Bal. On account of this said abuse, concerns for safety, the said worker sought the intervention of Mr. Rudy Indar Singh, her line minister. Is that the same R. Singh? As a result, Mr. Indar Singh intervened and actually consented to a change in the worker's job location by allowing the worker to work from his office, that is the office of the Member of Parliament for Cuba South. However, when the worker attended a prayer meeting for candidates of the People's National Movement, Mr. Indar Singh, political rival or opponent, he reacted spontaneously by summarily terminating the over workers' service over the phone around 10 p.m. on October the 20th, 2013. Indeed, the workers' service was terminated without due recourse to natural justice. Excuse me. Further, the workers' attendance at the prayer meeting was not work-related, and she did not attend the prayer meeting during regular hours of work, since the 20th of October 2013 was a Sunday. So the workers' service was actually terminated on a Sunday night. Needless to say, the worker attended the meeting by choice and exercised her constitutional right to freedom of association. Additionally, the following day, the worker went to the URP compound to sign her return of personal form and was debarred from entering the premises by the security. Thereafter, the worker went to the minister's office at Camden Road and again was refused access to the premises. A few days later, on the advice of her attorney at law, the worker returned to the URP office to ascertain her status of employment. However, while she was allowed to sign her return of personal form, she was again refused access to her place of work at Camden Road location, which had become her place of work after the worker was asked to leave the URP compound a year and a half prior to this contempt. This is what the court would have been saying. The court said, it is clear then that the workers' service was indeed summarily terminated on Sunday, the 20th of October 2013. The findings, the court therefore finds that the worker constitutional rights to freedom of association was infringed when she was dismissed for attending a prayer meeting. 2, the worker was summarily dismissed at 10 p.m. over the phone on the night of Sunday, the 20th of October 2013. 3, the worker was dismissed without due recourse of natural justice, inclusive of the worker's right to be heard by her employer. And 4, the worker was dismissed in a very harsh and oppressive manner. Finally, the worker should be compensated for the manner of a dismissal in view of the fact that the worker was summarily dismissed on Sunday night without due recourse to natural justice and in a very harsh and oppressive manner. We now order the employer, the Ministry of Works Unemployment Relief Division, to pay the worker, they call her name, the sum of $172,800 in 2 tranches. This judgment was delivered by Her Honor, Mrs. Kathleen George Marcel, presiding member, His Honor, Mr. Patrick Rambatali, member, and His Honor, Mr. Azim Mohammed. How do you know I read this? The Rudy Indar Singh, or the Mr. R. Indar Singh, and then Rudy Indar Singh, a member of Parliament for Cuba, that they're talking about, who dismissed a worker on a Sunday night, 10 p.m. by a phone call, because she went to a PNM Councillor church meeting or prayer meeting the Sunday. He dismissed her. The industrial court said it was harsh and oppressive. That Rudy Indar Singh is now a judge in the industrial court. So if Rudy Indar Singh, who is now a judge in the industrial court, can have dismissed a worker in an oppressive and harsh manner, the woman wasn't even at work. He called she on the phone 10 o'clock in the night and dismissed she. And the industrial court have to award that woman damages because they said that her dismissal was harsh and oppressive. How do you think that Rudy Indar Singh, as a judge in the industrial court, is going to treat with matters for workers when it come in front of him? All you feel it right here? Rudy Singh, who was abusive, and when I say abusive, I mean harsh and oppressive, by summarily dismissing an employee from URP. All of what you know the dress, send home how much workers from URP. Here's a judge now in the industrial court. What justice is workers going to get under Rudy Singh? Asking all you feel that he's in this place. Let me continue. On seeing what the Minister of Finance had to say, just very recently, I went back to the things that Felicia Thomas told public officers. Listen to what Felicia Thomas told public officers.
I reiterate the commitment of the PSA to continue to stand in defense of all public officers. We remain committed to advocating for legislative approaches that build rather than destroy the lives of people of Trinidad and Tobago. And we continue to work with this UNC-led government that continues to work with us in a collaborative manner to put workers first.
Did Rudy Singh from the UNC that you're supporting, did he put workers first? And as a union, and a president of a union, the PSA had nothing to say when they heard Rudy Singh became a judge in industrial court. Look at the document here. Look at the document here. Look at here. You had nothing to say, Felicia Thomas, about a judge who now sits in industrial court, who would have fired a worker on a Sunday 10 o'clock in the night, summarily, and she had to take a union to go to court to fight that employer and win the matter. But the industrial court say it was harsh and oppressive. You had nothing to say about that, Felicia Thomas, but you're working closely with the UNC. I want to play something else again. Nothing to say. But when Larry Chong was there, or Chong was there, whatever, all of that quick, all you jumping out the ball, oh, he's paying them and all that, but not a word today. Did Larry Chong fire anybody? And they win the case in industrial court, and the court said that it was oppressive and harsh. Let me play this one.
14 to 16, 17 to 19, the very same period that we rejected the offer of 4%. So, as I've said in the past, and I'll continue to say, we look forward to no later than this budget, September, October, where workers can finally see that 10% offer placed on the table so that we could recommence negotiations at 10%. And of course, we are behind for periods.
Right? Yeah, see? No later than this budget to see the negotiation at 10%. Well, you jackass, now I tell you, you're dumb. You're dumb like a doorbell, and all your fool public officers, Felicia Thomas. Listen to this.
Will manifest over a 5-year period. Year one will start in the next few weeks.
So you're telling people to maybe taper those expectations?
Yes.
And the PSA would be one of those people who would have those expectations. Felicia Thomas is confident that the 10% negotiations will start in this fiscal year coming.
I expect that the 10% negotiation that's now being referenced as the 10% negotiation will start in fiscal 2026. And there will be some resolution in fiscal 2026. I think both the government and the union are similarly minded in resolving those matters in fiscal 2026. So there will be provision in the budget for those kind of activities.
Will the THA be getting a higher ratio than the one that is under?
My love, you have to wait until the budget to hear that information.
When will the budget be?
Soon.
Mid-October, early October, late October?
Early October. The Prime Minister has already signaled early October.
And when you say what people are calling the 10%, is it not at 10%? Because they said minimum 10.
There is a negotiation that has to take place first before we could finalize. No negotiation has started yet.
They said it will start in the 2026 financial year.
Yes.
With a conclusion in that same financial year.
It is my expectation that there will be a conclusion in fiscal 2026.
You know how that 10 is broken up? Is it 334, 433?
It's a negotiation that hasn't even started yet, so there's no way of knowing what it will end up as.
Say a message to public servants right now, because I know they're asking me when I walk down the road to Palace.
Fiscal 2026 will have some of the answers.
Will you be a popular man after the budget?
For some, yes. For others, not so much. It's a good question, though.
Public officers who was convinced in what Felicia Thomas and Leroy Baptiste, who is now the Minister of Labour, was going around and telling all they vote for the UNC. We go get 10%, then they say starting point is 10%. She just said, hey, this budget. Well, only now here, the Minister of Finance said, not this budget. Fiscal year 2026. What year we in? 2025. And you know what he said? It has to be negotiated. I can't say nothing yet. It must have to be negotiated. I know what Felicia was telling earlier. She jumped out when NIB get the money, but she admits that NIB could pay the workers because NIB does make money. And that was I tell earlier. The CPOA had to deal with NIB. The Minister of Finance want to give them money. As the board of NIB is the employer of the workers in NIB. And NIB workers, the section, does make up their own wage proposal and then get PSA to present for them. That's all PSA does do. Anything else is between the Minister of Finance and the board, if the board choose to inform the minister. So when people say that they jump out, we go get something. When we going to get the public service go make money, what we do is facilitate the making of whatever money. NIB does make money, they pay contribution and they do investment and all that. So them good oil. But Felicia Thomas told public officers we're going to get 10%. No later than in this budget, we're going to get it. Now the Minister of Finance is saying it's a negotiation and not until the next fiscal year, 2026. When I used to be making my videos or my little TikTok, and public officers cussing me, and I was telling them, yes, the 4% was an insult. Everybody was talking about that, but I also used to say the unions had a part to play in 6 years passing without a negotiation, because the same way PSA they take section 21(1), I think it's section 22(1), I think, of the Civil Service Act to get judicial review for interpretation. They can also take the section in the Act which states who could initiate the start of negotiations and see whether or not the Minister of Finance or the CPO was in breach of that when they would have sent a proposal to the CPO and no response to when negotiation was going to start. Why they didn't take that part of the Civil Service Act or the Industrial Relations Act for judicial review? Because again, I'm saying, it's because of Watson Duke and Felicia Thomas and Leroy Baptiste, who was the advisor to or consultant to Watson Duke back then, while we on 2013 salary still, because we get a settlement from the Minister of Finance for the period 2014-16. Back then, it didn't have COVID. And back then, the government did honor the 14% that the UNC did sign off on when they know the country was in a recession. But Duke take it. Instead of that, he went into full politics with Felicia up and down behind him and Leroy right up and down behind. They didn't care about workers. And then when he did the THA election, the Faris Al-Wari had was to take that matter for judicial review if it could be the president of PSA and still hold on a position in the THA because PDP did win. And because of that, he called a hastily arranged conference and installed Leroy Baptiste, who nobody voted for, to be president of PSA. And the shit continued. I used to tell all you, there's allegation that Leroy Baptiste will be made a senator in the UNC and made Minister of Labor. Didn't it come true? So that is why they were stalling and stalling and stalling to get public officers so irate that they don't vote for PNM and then go around to them and tell them they go get 10%. So everybody done vex for the 4% and they vex about this and they this and this and that. What I get now? What I get now? They only keep pushing it back and push. If they ain't have no blasting, no matter what the reality of this thing. All the workers that stay home, URP, CPEP, and they cutting this and cutting sponsorship and cutting this and cutting that. That can't make up enough money to make recurring expenditure every year when they settle the negotiation. You might be able to pay a back pay, which is a one-off thing, but with an increase in salary comes an increase in the recurring expenditure every month. When again that money that I tell all the public officers will get nothing. Because when the next fiscal year comes, they're going to have some next excuse again. And Felicia Thomas riding. Felicia Thomas, you had to be real lucky. This is not the 1930s and 40s. You had to be real lucky. This is not the 1930s and 40s or even 50s and 60s and 70s. You have to be real lucky. Public officers, like, they get soft. So let me see what excuse public officers going to make up now to counteract what just happened there with Tang, who say nothing until the next fiscal year, and you have to sit down and negotiate for it. You have to sit and negotiate for it. I was telling all you. You have to sit and negotiate. You could come out of that and get nothing because next year you might have less money. You better go send home. I tell all you might get it and public officers go home. Or they might go to the IMF when pressure starts. Public officers will still go home. All your good years. All your good years. All your take dreams. All your cost Rowley. All your cost Rowley. All your cost Kamla now. All your cost Dave Tankun. All your cost Rowley. Call them all kind of this. The unions call them all kind of this, that, thing. All them call Rudy Darcy, who is now a judge in the industrial court, who had a case with BU winner against him for a worker, where the industrial court say her summarily dismissal was oppressive and harsh. All them cussing he did. But all of us cussing at Chong. Move at Chong. All them say move embarrassing now. All them cussing Kamla now because all of a sudden we ain't getting nothing in the budget. They're talking about next fiscal year. All them cussing now. When the UNC in office, all the take all the tail and put it between all the leg all up and all the bam see. Yes, I'm saying it today's Friday. All the take it and plug all the hole and then all the nose hole, all the mouth hole and all the bam see hole. Yes, I've been crafted because I damn vex. And who don't like my language, that is quite okay. Because when Dr. Rowley was in the PNM, everybody has something to say. They coming out the nose hole, the mouth hole, and all the holes. Now we getting leather bamboo. Corn is yellow bamboo straight up. And all they say nothing. Hey! Instead of a SOE, so you can't say nothing. You can't do nothing. You have to sit down and whisper your name. All they had mouth for Rowley. And Rowley. Hey! Oh, what? Or they don't feel less laugh is because it's funny. Eh? It's either laugh or cry and cuss. I'm here crying. I'm here feel to cuss. So let me continue. So in Tobago, I saw this happening. Children protesting.
We want Trinity back. We want Trinity back. We want Trinity back. We want.
Apparently, it looked like them Trinidad and Tobago protesting for a coach or something. I don't know what happened with the coach. I don't know if they fired the coach or whatever, but the children protesting. Well, they can't lock them. How they lock them as an SOE? Oh, watch me now. I'm not laughing because it's funny, you know. Hey, woo. Anyway. Whew. So this was 20 hours ago in the Guardian. It says, Farley gone silent on Tobago's issue, says Morris. Minority Leader Kevin Morris is accusing Chief Secretary Farley Augustine of abandoning his once strong stance, which he once had against the former PNM-led government on Tobago's most pressing issues, especially now on matters involving the Prime Minister's tough talks surrounding the Venezuelan-US tension. Speaking at a press conference, Morris claimed Augustine was vocal up until April 28th, but has since gone soft on defending Tobago's rights over energy resources and on the safety concerns of fishermen. He said Tobago's fisherfolk are now afraid to go to sea, pointing to his recent incident where vessels in the region were bombed. You have your fishers saying that we are afraid to go cut and we are afraid to go out and fish because we are seeing boats being bombed and we don't know if one of these days we might be just next. Morris said, rather than the chief secretary raise his voice on behalf of the fishers because he now has his friends in Trinidad and they are speaking a certain kind of language, he has now gone quiet and he has now not just quiet, but he has gone soft. Morris argued that Augustine had previously challenged the central government on issues linked to autonomy and resources, but had once gone silent under the current administration in Port of Spain. He accused Augustine of turning his back on Tobago's fishermen at a time when they needed a strong voice. His criticism comes amidst heightened tension in the southern Caribbean, where the United States has carried out missile strikes on Venezuelan vessels allegedly linked to drug trafficking. The island's fisherfolk said that they are in fear that they could be mistaken for smugglers or be caught in the crossfire. On Tuesday, Augustine responded at the opening of the Friendship Connector Road, saying he is not worried about the US-Venezuela situation. It's not you to be worried. You ain't going out in no blasted boat, so you don't have to be worried. You in a cushy place with the security. It's not you to be worried. It's the fisherfolk telling you that they're worried, Farley. Hey, I hear in here, boy. This is Bacchanal Friday, so if you hear me, let out some little, not explicit and obscene, but a little. Okay, Friday. Okay. I don't drink, I don't this and that. Women, let me talk detail. So this is, he assured Tobago fishermen that the vessel targeted were not in Trinidad and Tobago waters and that law-abiding fishers have nothing to fear. From all reports, those vessels struck were not in Trinidad and Tobago waters, Augustine said. Our fishermen are law-abiding and they don't go into international waters illegally and they should be safe in Tobago's water. But Morris insisted Augustine muted response proved his point that the chief secretary has lost his voice. He warned that Tobago needs stronger leadership and that silence on such matters could leave the islands vulnerable. Or ain't going to get not much. He's a punk. He's a weak. In my opinion, he's weak. Boaters drift all kind of thing. You could go out there in wee waters and something go wrong with your boat, and next thing it start to drift. You never hear that happening, Farley. Accidents happen. And then the drifting go in, and America should see them and mistakenly in that international water, and things could happen. Yeah, Farley, things do happen. Okay? Let me continue. So, this is our Honorable Minister of Homeland Security. When asked about the incident where I didn't want to speak about it because I didn't want it to look like it's a joke or anything, but they're speaking about it now. Apparently, some school children locked one of the police in a classroom and it took about half an hour to get the police out. And then they caught a 13-year-old with marijuana and something. So they were asking him about it. Listen to our goodly Minister of Homeland Security, Member of Parliament for Chanapula.
We would have had two major developments. One where they held a Form 1 boy with marijuana, and the next where they locked an officer in the classroom. I just want to get your thoughts on that.
First on the one with the marijuana.
Remember all this like children, you know. Children don't do those things.
You cannot be for real. Oh my God, you for real.
And?
So, Minister...
Children doesn't do that, homie. Children doesn't do that. Children don't behave like that. You don't behave like that? You used to behave like that when you were small?
No, you for fake. No, you for real.
So would have fallen asleep and they would have...
Well, we haven't seen that, you know what I mean? So if that's the case, well, they will treat it.
Heard about that situation, though. What were your thoughts?
For me?
When you heard about the officer getting locked in the class?
Well, the first thing I said is, children doesn't do that.
Oh, fake. No, you for real.
You see? So
what are you trying to infer when you're questioning?
What do you think I tried to infer? If you think I'm trying to infer something I don't know, well, let me ask you something. What you're seeing now, children doesn't do that. All of us here were children once. Did you do that? What about my boy here? Did you do that? Did you do that?
What are you saying? What are you saying? What is he saying?
Obviously, it would point to that there are issues in these schools, right?
So let me, you know, I like to, when we were calling for it to be done more than 5 years ago, why wasn't it done? If a tree was 5 years ago, you know the size of the tree now? When do you bend the tree?
And from the reports that you have been getting so far in...
Is it too late to turn things back?
No, it's not too late, but are we dealing with children who are already willing to test the system? You think we're dealing with children?
That's what we're dealing with, Minister.
You tell me, you're a reporter,
So,
you
Minister,
report everything.
I'm so damn confused.
Yet, but...
In many schools, yes. In many schools, yes. Until the teachers, the principal are showing praises on the effort made by this government and the police on a whole. There are a number of schools. And you know what, too? We realize that some schools, even the students, realize, you know what? Let's not be like them. Because all they want to do is fuss and fight, not us.
A female student giving an officer some attitude, are you worried about the officer's safety in those schools?
No, I'm not. Because they were trained to treat them by any lawful means necessary.
You know, based on the number of schools, they didn't have enough to place 2 officers in every single school.
That was discussed today.
Talking? Great,
yeah, that was discussed today, and that will be advanced. All right?
So when you say advanced, yes, more officers, more training.
We'll see how it goes with that, you know, because as I said before, we're interested in everything, you know. We're interested in turning around this place from what it used to be, when it should be dealt with more than 9 years ago. We have to treat it now, so be it.
So you've identified some schools that may need maybe 3 or 4 officers instead of 2?
You know, I don't want to blame the schools, but let me share this with you. What we know for a fact is this. And you would have known that there are times when a lot of these schools would have put things under the carpet. You know why? To save the name of the school. But now, they are coming out some of the same schools, coming out now and saying, listen, we need police at this school. All right?
So more schools have been asking, other than the original?
Yeah, no, a lot of schools have been asking. So it's about saving the people in the school. I can't say children because some of them don't behave like children. So we are saving those students in the school. I don't say children anymore because they don't behave like that. But let me ask you something. This is the question of the day, right? Every time we see someone behaving strange, we have a tendency to say marijuana, right? Are we looking deeply at Molly and other kind of drugs like that? That's the question of the day. Right? So when you see someone driving, what we do? We checking for? To see the alcohol. Are we checking for other things? And that is where the direction this government is taking in the not to distant future.
From the reports you've gotten so far, have they found anything outside of marijuana in the schools? Like, let's say, other substances, other types of drugs, whether it be Molly, ecstasy?
If I just had a banana, would you see it?
What are you saying? What are you saying? What is he saying?
Oh, Lord Father. I wasn't the person who put this together. Just one or two things I just want to say quickly. So the Honorable Minister wants to know if them as children, they lock the police in a classroom, or they challenge this one, they fighting, or they come to school with drugs. I graduated in 1982. And since 1982, when we found that children fighting in the school, now I'm not justifying, I'm just saying something. Children fighting in school. It has some used to be smoking ganja in school, breaking leash, pulling prank. Okay. Let me tell you, when I went to secondary school, 12 o'clock, there was cinemas all around by our school. I put on a t-shirt, thing, and go on cinema. Like the manager in the cinema, call the school and tell the principal. And while we sitting down in the cinema, 12:30 or 12, wherever you think, the principal coming with a torchlight, and we hear his voice saying, if I reach back to the school before all they are locking the gate, and we drop down on the seat, so that when he shine the light, he go see, and as he come out, we get out that cinema and we run like Jerry Richards and them. When I tell you run and skate in the gate, when he now driving in with the old car. You know what I tell you? The point I'm making is children doing all them thing all the time. Children just do them thing. You have to know how to treat and deal with it. He said the police officers are trained to deal with that. I'm not so sure. Police are there to maintain law, to protect and serve. I don't know them is to deal with children and have those type of conversation to motivate. And to, I know that it's the counselor, the guidance counselor, the teacher, the principal, the PTA, and all those things involved. So I don't know. But as if it's children, children always behaving so. Now, because you have social media and because you have other things, it has been amplified. Tell me what school you ain't go to and you have a good fight on a Friday. Tell me if all you know when you're going to some girl get pregnant. Tell me if you know some of them fellas smoking cigarette and all that. It's children. Children are curious, and if they could test and dare and what they're going to do it. So don't move as if this is something new and it never happened before. But you have to put measures in place to treat it because children will be children. You have a little child home, don't go by the time you spin wrong, you look. I remember my husband nephew. We hear his little nephew call me when he go. We know how we get the head through the burglar proofing. He head go through the burglar proof and it stick. So he next and he head hang out there. Let me tell you something. I weak. Listen, I just laugh at this stupidest thing sometimes. I weak because he can't get the head out and everybody trying to figure how he get the head between there. He was just sitting on there. How he move and go on there. Couldn't I them just do them thing. You know long it take before, however, he put the hair and put it wherever, he find the way and put it back. I hope children does operate. You have to be monitoring right through. Let me little children, imagine bigger ones. So talking to Sergeant, talking to Minister Alexander to me is like, I don't know, no? Like in a Twilight Zone, yes, Papa. I don't know. I don't get it. I don't get it. Anywho, that's the minister. We must respect the minister. So listen to temporary Senator Francis, I think it is, talking about, again,
Independent Senator Francis Lewis spoke about the government's citizenship reform bill in the context of national priorities during the first sitting of the Senate following its 2025 July-August recess.
So I did a quick perusal of social media and then an online search. And I said, name for me the top 5 things in the last 3 months that people seem to be exercised about. And this is just from what is coming up in media and social media. Foreign exchange availability and use, and the questions around that. We are still under a state of emergency that goes to the end of October. There are serious questions being asked about job security, given recent announcements of layoffs and dismissals.
Senator Lewis also identified other issues of concern in the public domain.
Regional relations seem to be negatively sharpening, particularly with those of a close neighbor. Crime, public safety continues to be significant concerns. And with that, the need, and just within the last few days, the reorganization of the Trinidad and Tobago Police Service. These are issues that a parliament needs to address. I'm not sure whether this bill at this time in this way meets the criteria, at least my criteria for priorities.
The independent senator then made reference to the Commonwealth Parliamentary Association's conference he attended last week, which examined the issue of the challenge of financing Parliament.
This Parliament, based on the last year's budget, cost this country $140 million. That's our operating cost for the 375 staff that support the two houses. Each house sits roughly 60 sessions a year. So together, 120 sessions.
The Parliament of Trinidad and Tobago is comprised of the Senate and the House of Representatives.
If I do a very simple calculation of 140 million divided by 120 sessions, a session costs about $1.1 to $1.2 million. That's what this session costs today in the context of the budget. Are we delivering value? In that context, the choice to dedicate scarce parliamentary time to the bill that extends citizenship to grandchildren of nationals living abroad who may never live here, likely to never live here, is at best a curious prioritization.
The independent senator said he understands the Stand Your Ground legislation and the budget are to go before Parliament for debate soon, but he noted he was not sure what other legislation is on the agenda. Jewel Brown, TV6 News.
So, the Honorable Alexander could have said that this government intends to change things. They're really changing, they're changing our society, in my opinion, to something that if we're not careful, we may never recover from. You can't tell me you send home about 30,000 workers just like that, and it will not have an impact on them same children who going to school, households, marriages, relationships, crime, poverty, mental illness, starvation, hunger, diseases associated with those hypertension, diabetes, heart problems. I don't know if they don't understand the spin-off from sending home so much people from a workplace, a workplace, all at once. The impact is not just they lost the work. It have all the other things that filtered on. I don't know if they don't understand that or they just don't care. Or is it they want the place to reach to a state where it is uncontrollable? And then I come into Stand Your Ground. I LinkedIn and tying everything, Is it they want to see this place reach? I say, why are we still in a SOE? When they told us it started with a threat in the prison, they said they neutralized that. It started with a threat against certain ministers because of this and that. We see them minister and them moving wrong, laughing, talking normal. They said that's why they wasn't having independence. Then we have a national day of prayer. Them ain't go to pray. And it just goes on and on and on and on. What are we to believe? Is it that they want us to be in a state that we're so tired and fed up that we say we ain't voting never again, we ain't doing nothing, we just accepting? That's what they want to see. But you see, the people of African descent came out of enslavement, and prior to that, we were living a different type of life in Africa. We were kings, we were queens, we were this. All that is there, but talking about the enslavement part, we came out of that after 400 years. We are resilient people. And when your back gets against the wall and it has nowhere else to go but the concrete wall, the only place to go is walk forward. Okay. So I'm seeing here, temporary Senator Gibbons called for united CARICOM. Temporary independent Senator Wesley Gibbons, this was yesterday in The Guardian, says a united CARICOM position is vital and absolutely essential on the current issue concerning Venezuela. And he didn't see any sense in the fragmentation that's being proposed by some. Gibbons, who is also a journalist, was yesterday sworn in as a temporary replacement in the absence of independent Senator Dr. Desiree Moray, who is overseas. Gibbons said it was a great honor to serve his country and added that the new position approximated what he already did as a journalist, which was to have a close look at the exercise of power and the quality of this, and being free to represent his views and those of others who may be unrepresented or underrepresented. When asked about his view on TNT's stance on everything surrounding the current US-Venezuela issue, Gibbons said, well, my personal view has been for a very long time that when we speak about we, the we I speak about as citizens to the Caribbean community. We have had the Federation experience, and I think it was a missed boat that has lingered, and it is here, it is there, perhaps a little further away than we had expected in years past. So I think that a united CARICOM position is vital and absolutely essential. And I don't see any sense in fragmentation that is being proposed by some. Gibbons was asked if the situation would be worsened by the United National Congress Senator Philip Alexander's admission yesterday that he was speaking off the top of his head and engaging in hyperbole during a live when Alexander recently said India stood ready to nuke Venezuela to defend TNT. He said, to the extent that people are inclined to take it seriously, I think it will bother some folks. But for those who have looked at this issue very clearly in terms of geopolitical arrangements and the position of TNT and the Caribbean in the wider geopolitics, I think there will be a different kind of understanding of what is required and what is the current state of affairs. Gibbons was asked how he might deal with the independent senatorship after the pressure the independent bench had gone through, including the UNCPRO remark that the independent bench was like another opposition in the parliament. He said his journalistic record shows his position on things has always been one of independence, not aligned to any political or any particular political position. I'll check back with you, sir, a couple of weeks down the road. So, as I say, there's always something to laugh at, smile at, celebrate, or whatever. Listen to this young chap here.
All the men who join the army for the Elantra and the gold chain and to screw in fits every weekend, all they know is the timing, right? Whoa, 2,300 hours. Sort it out. Right match. It ain't looking too good, fellas. They're gonna need all the services very soon on the front line. I know all they believe all is the biggest and baddest thing in Trinidad. I don't have to tell all it only have 5,000 now all year. 5,000 sound like a real big number, eh? Well, let me tell you, it have 500,000 people in Venezuelan armed forces. Do that information as you will. And aside note, I am not the biggest fan of the Venezuelans. Send them back for my part. I don't care. All I saying is, I'm not fighting. I want no part of it. I don't want no part. I'm not fighting. Conscript your mother. I don't know. When war come, all they go in and say, well, we need all the able-bodied young men to come and... No, I am not doing it. Lock them up if you have to. To make things worse. Well, I believe if we Prime Minister, before she had come and talk, I'd just say, but let me just go on Google and see what's the order with them fellas. She would have see Venezuela is ranked 50th on the world military power rankings. Now, that might sound like that high, that's something like that kind of low end. Out of 140, we not on the list. We not on the list. Don't take this as I say and just open up and let them come in. I would say before it reach that, at least see where's the order. Talk to the men and them. Use the pen before you use the sword. Use the pen, please. I beg. I say it and beg. I'm not fighting. Put the war between your leg. I'm not fighting. All who feel Trump coming to hell. I just want all you to remember, Trump tells Zelensky, the president of Ukraine, but go and tell them fellas, sorry. Go and tell them fellas, sorry, because I'm not helping you. What do you think you can tell me? Sort out all your business by all yourself.
And I was saying that a couple of years ago. I don't know if the UNC Kamala Kasabi sister PM to Barry Padara and Khadija Amin, and they feel that Donald Trump, President Donald Trump, like them. I wonder if they feel that he would support them over people of African descent. I wonder if they don't understand that they are considered brown people, and black and brown people in the United States of America are minorities. So whether or not you're in office as a prime minister, you're Indian descent, African descent, I do not think, based on the things that Donald Trump and his administrations are saying, that they consider people like us or people of Indian descent. So I don't know what make Kamala Prasad and then, is my opinion, feel that there's some type of superiority and that Donald Trump and his administration will align themselves with them and they will get more favors over us. I wanted to think again. When last we had J.D. Vance, Vice President J.D. Vance, just asked him, you know the man we hear about? Marco Rubio dies. The man, you hear anything about it first? I haven't heard him for a while. His wife is an Indian woman, very educated. Oh, does that have something to do with it? I don't know. I'm just asking. But as young chaps say, you think them coming to help you? I just ask you. So I saw this out, and it is on government's stationery. We are now hearing that it is not true, but it's on government stationery, and it says the cancellation of Republic Day activities, dated 18th of September 2025. The Office of the Prime Minister's Central Administrative Services, Tobago, OPM/CST, regrets to inform the public of the Republic Day road march, reception, and award functions scheduled for September 24th, 2025 has been cancelled. The decision comes in compliance with the government's directive under the current state of emergency in Trinidad and Tobago. While this outcome is deeply regrettable, it is necessary to prioritize national safety and security. OPM/CSP extends sincere apologies to all stakeholders, community members, sponsors of any inconvenience caused. We also express heartfelt gratitude to everyone who has shown strong commitment and support towards this celebration. And for more information, contact our communication unit, blah, 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 blah. I am hearing that the Prime Minister would have said in some news clipping that that wasn't true. Now, this was on, I think it was Ian Allen's page. So I'm asking myself, who would have written this correspondence on government's stationery? They need to look into the communication department and see what's going on there. Because this is official, it looks official. And I'm asking myself, what if it was really true? But then somebody say, hey, you cancel Independence Day parade. You fire about 30, 40,000. You say there is threats against this one, that one, that one. We're a state of emergency. So you say no gathering and all that. And on top of that, all they all out there like, you know, they celebrate everywhere. And then you come now and you say no Republic Day. Madam, I don't know if we're able to withstand that. You know. Suppose I saw it went down and they change their mind and say, hey, no. That is not true. That's fake news. But how is it fake news and it is on government stationery? I just asking. So are we to query everything that comes out on government stationery? You know, we can afford to say, I don't believe that. No, that is fake news. How are we going to know what is real news and fake news? So again, this constant in my opinion, of having the country and the citizens in this state of hypervigilance and anxiety. And then you want to bring FUL standing. You want to bring standing wrong on top of all that. I'll comment to that. So I was at the People's National Movement standing ground consultation yesterday at City Hall. The moderators were Mr. Larry Lala, SC, in constitutional law. Sanji Budu, he's a lawyer. What am I saying? Mr. Lala is SC. And we had a psychologist there, which I think was a really good idea. And we had, forgive my pronunciation, who by from 5-5, another lawyer. And Larry Lala SC would have taken us through the CASA doctrine, which is, I'll read to you what it is, and that this new legislation, this piece of legislation, what it entails and the time that he had and what it means and all that. And then there's the panel discussion where people ask questions. And I was one of the persons asking questions. So let me just read to you all what is CASA doctrine. Just an overview. The concept of CASA doctrine is an old legal principle with English common law root dating back to the Middle Ages, and it was famously articulated by William Pitt the Elder in 1763. It was brought to the American colonies by English settlers and evolved over time, with specific state laws and stand your ground legislation later being enacted in the late 20th and 21st centuries to codify and expand on the traditional doctrine. The origin of the concept, English common law. The CASA doctrine originates and can be traced to the English legal principle that a person whom is their castle and they are entitled to defend it. William Pitt's famous quote. The idea was famously articulated by Prime Minister William Pitt the Elder in 1763, who stated that the poorest man could defy the king in his own cottage. Right? The colonial era. English common law, including the CASA doctrine principle, it was brought to the American colonies by settlers. Late 20th century. In the 1980s, Make My Day law was passed in some states, which provided immunity for using deadly force against someone who unlawfully and forcibly entered a residence. 21st century legislation. In the 2000s, many states revised or passed new CASA doctrine laws, often incorporating stand your ground provision that extended the right to use force without a duty to retreat from a perceived threat beyond the home. So they spoke about codify. And one of the things that would have been said, because I'm a layman, so I interpret what those lawyers were saying in that way. What does this new stand your ground law going to fix that the present CASA doctrine does not have? Because if you have a law, an old law that is there, and you're going to bring something new to expand or whatever, it must be to fix it, to improve on what it has, or something that is an alignment that it doesn't have, that you feel it failing and bringing forward. But apparently, lawyers are unable, truthfully, to see what difference, what is this going to bring that is going to improve on CASA doctrine that has been here understand from 1606 or around that time, that gives persons in self-defense the right to protect themselves and their property from intruders and from harm. So it speaks about codifying. And what is codify? To codify a law means to collect and arrange existing law or rules into a systematic formal code or statute. This process consolidates law on a particular subject, making them more organized, understandable, and accessible to the public. It can also involve converting judge-made law or case law into codified law, creating a comprehensive body of rule for a specific area of law. It brings together multiple, often disparate legal acts and their amendments into a single coherent body of law. The laws are arranged by subject or theme, creating a structured legal code. Codification helps to eliminate redundancy and inconsistency within the law and to identify any gaps in legal coverage that may require new legislation. By creating a formal system, codification makes the law easier for people to find and understand and follow. It involves turning principles and rules into formalized legal text that can be enacted by the legislation. Example, in civil law jurisdiction, codified law is a fundamental feature which many areas of law organize into comprehensive legal codes. In common law systems, codification can involve converting existing statutes and case law into codified statutory law, as seen when the Supreme Court ruling case law prompts states to revise their own codes. A political movement to codify Roe versus Wade meant enshrining the principles of abortion access into federal law rather than relying on court interpretation. So basically what they're saying, if you're going to treat with an all law that is there, you could codify it. You can make it better where it's lacking, you strengthen, and you make it more accessible and more understandable. So when people read it, they're not confused, it's not all over the place. So you bring it more structured. Those are the things that they could codify or law and bring a new law. But if you bring in a new law and there's nothing to show what that new law you're bringing going to add or enhance the old law, or make it even easier to understand, what is the purpose of that law? So from what I understand yesterday in that consultation, there's nothing in this stand your ground law that they want to bring that the Castle Doctrine doesn't cover. Because it said protect yourself. It didn't say protect yourself with a gun or a knife or a piece of branch or a whip or a cutlass or a hoe, or with protect yourself. And whatever instrument you may have at the time, it may not be a weapon, but it can be used as a weapon. And in protecting yourself, you use it based on some type of invasion, or whatever. Okay. So this new stand your ground law that they want to bring, it speaks about the FUL, guns, but what it does, it speaks to areas that could create real challenges for people or lawyers. Because we heard the Justice Minister say you could shoot people in the back and then basically ask questions after. You ask if it's police or wherever after. We know that the law says if somebody back is towards you, they don't present any threat. You can't presume that the person who back against you getting out it, they're going to spin around to do something. You can't know that unless you have some supernatural powers because they're getting away from you. And you don't know that it is that they're going to come back with something. You may not know that to say, well, here what? Before he turn around to do me something, let me shoot in the back. Or before he go to get something to come back, let me shoot in the back. You can't preempt because then I premeditated. So if this law is setting up people, because I hear the lawyers and they're speaking, there's nothing inside there that, what's the word they use? There's nothing in that law that absolves, I put in the word absolve, that absolves you from getting charged. If you stand your ground as the reason why somebody in your house and you shoot them or whatever the case may be, the police can just come in and say, oh, okay, what happened? Yeah, when I feel threatened when they come in my house, for them come in my house, I feel threatened, I pull my gun and I shoot them 5 times, shoot them thing. And the police ain't going to say, well, okay, that's good. I hear you, and you have a right to defend yourself, and that's it. That's not to go to court. But the UN in a consultation making people feel once you feel threatened and they come in your house, you shoot them, like that's the end of that. No, this new law them bringing, this stand your ground, that piece of thing they bring says nothing about immune. That's the word. It says nothing about immunity. That is not in it. So there's no immunity if you shoot somebody, they come in your house and they say because they come in your house, you shoot them, that there's no automatic immunity. It has to go to court. And then you say XYZ, XYZ, and the judge will find whether or not it was justified. They're not telling you that part. But again, when you're making laws, you have to look at the culture of the country that we live in. We're 1.5 million people in the Caribbean. We don't have any law, no Second Amendment law that say we have a right to bear arms. That is in America, which has 50 how much states, millions of people in one state. That is the culture that they know. The right to bear arms. Right? The right to bear arms is primarily associated with the Second Amendment to the US Constitution, which states a well-regulated militia, while being necessary to the security of a free state, the right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. The Supreme Court has affirmed this as an individual right to possess firearms for self-defense in the home, a right that applies to both federal and state laws. While originally linked to militia service, the individual right has been clarified and expanded upon by recent court rulings through the phase, and its implication continue to be debated, particularly in the context of public safety. The right is enshrined in the Second Amendment ratified in 1791. Individual rights. The Supreme Court decision in District of Columbia versus Heller, 2008, established that it is an individual right, not solely the militia purpose, or not solely for militia purposes. Application to states, McDonald versus City of Chicago, 2010, extended this right to state and local government. Modern arms. The term arms include modern weapons, not just those available at the time of the nation's founding, as affirmed in Cateno versus Massachusetts 2016. The primary recognized purpose of this individual right is for self-defense in the home, context and debate. Our historical context in the early days of the US, armed citizens formed militias for self-protection before formal police forces existed. In modern debate, the right remains a significant point of discussion in American culture and politics, with ongoing debates about its interpretation and the balance between individual liberties and public safety concerns. Public health crisis. In response to increasing gun violence, the US Surgeon General has declared gun violence a public health crisis, highlighting concerns about the impact of gun ownership on public safety. So as I was saying again, when you make laws, you have to be conscious of the culture of the people, because laws are culture influences laws. Cultural norms, morals, and ethical beliefs form the foundation of what a society deems right or wrong, which informs the creation of laws. Law is understood as a set of meaning-making practices that exist within a specific culture, with individuals interpreting and applying laws based on their cultural background. Culture shapes the rule of behavior, and law emerges from these cultural norms, forming a mechanism for social control. Laws are formal rules that enforce accepted behavior, but they are also products of the existing cultural framework that gives them meaning and legitimacy. As laws are adopted and embedded into society, they contribute to cultural shifts and can foster trust between the state and its citizens, leading to a more harmonious society according to the concept of legal cultural culturation. Cultural resistance, while cultures can adapt to and absorb laws, they also have the power to resist and redefine aspects of a legal system that do not align with their existing values. You hear that again? While cultures can adapt to and absorb laws, they also have the power to resist and redefine aspects of a legal system that do not align with their existing values. What is not a part of our existing values? The right to bear arms. That is not enshrined in our constitution. That is not our culture to bear arms so that everybody have a gun. That is not our culture, a very small society. That is just not how it is. So when you make laws like that, that does not enhance the society, does not protect the society, doesn't bring harmony to the citizens, instead it brings more division, that could never be good law, right? Dynamic relationship, interconnectedness. Law and culture are not separate entities but exist in a symbiotic relationship. Over time, laws and cultural practices evolve together. Cultural background and legal tradition can create barriers to understanding and applying laws across different societies, especially when translating legal documents or systems according to UBC Open Library Collection. I'm reading all this to say, again, based on what I heard Mr. Larry Lala S.C. state, who is a constitutional lawyer, we have the CASA doctrine that has been there since 1606. Generations and generations have used that to protect their home, their life, property. If you're bringing something to change or codify, it has to be something that seeks to strengthen what exists, seeks to fix something that is present in the law. It will be the Castle Doctrine that needs to be fixed. But if there's nothing, this stand your ground that UNC want to bring to strengthen or fix the Castle Doctrine, what is the purpose of this stand your ground? What is the purpose of it? I was reading, I was doing a lot of research, and I read something here from Oxford University. US stand your ground law do not cut crime, but risk public health and safety. Stand your ground laws designed to protect individuals who actively defend themselves from crime have not improved public safety across the United States, according to a new study in the American Journal of Public Health. In some states, notably Florida, such laws have led to increases in violent crime and homicide, and evidence suggests the application of legal protection under these laws may intensify racial inequities in criminal justice. You hear that? Racial inequities. It speaks about public health. It speaks about the fact that these stand your ground laws has not solved crime. In fact, they have escalated gun crime and violence in America and the states that have stand your ground. Why I speak about it, you remember when there was the symposium in Trinidad that the CARICOM came and they were speaking about crime, gun crime and all that, and Dr. Keith Christopher Rowley, and they said that gun crime is a mental health issue, a public health issue as a matter of fact. Look, the research and they are showing that it is a public health issue, right? They laugh about it. They laugh about it. But it is a public health issue. And it does not solve crime. So that was coming out of Oxford University. Let me get something else here. Just now. Because it's not what Jenny said. It's our sister Jenny said. Let's see this one here. Stand your ground laws and the presumption of. This was EGI.org, the 10th of the 4th month, 2024, stand your ground law and the presumption of dangerousness. Right? Just a little area. In 2005, Florida enacted a so-called stand your ground law, providing that a person cannot be convicted of a crime that they reasonably believe deadly force is necessary to protect themselves or someone else from imminent death or serious injury or prevent a person from committing a forcible felony. The law dramatically expanded the traditional scope of justified self-defense killings. For centuries, the common law rule adopted by most states in the US authorized an individual to use deadly force only when it was objectively and reasonably necessary to avoid death or serious injury. Under the common law rule, a killing would be considered self-defense if the shooter could have avoided the threat by, let me read it again. Under the common rule law, a killing will not be considered self-defense if the shooter could have avoided the threat by walking away from the confrontation. The sole exception of this duty to retreat was if a person faced a deadly threat in their own home. But Florida's stand your ground law essentially eliminated the duty to retreat by allowing a person in any place where they are legally permitted to use deadly force without an obligation to retreat. If prosecutors determine the shooter acted under the protection of the law, the shooter may not be prosecuted. Florida legislators made clear that the law was designed to authorize civilians to respond to criminal activity with force. The sponsor of the bill, Representative Dennis Baxley, said that some violent rape will not occur because somebody will feel empowered by this bill. Somebody's child will not be adopted because of the law. Someone will prevent a murder. And that is what he is saying that he feels will happen with this new addition or expansion of the stand your ground law, where there is no duty. The common law then was there was a duty to retreat if you could retreat safely. And if when you go to court, they find that you could have retreated safely, but you did not, you would have been charged for that. This expansion in Florida gives you the right. You don't have to, whether you could retreat or not in retreat, whether you're safe, you could de-escalate, you don't have no choice, you could just shoot, kill the person and talk them. That is what Florida stand your ground. And I think that is where this government was looking for to use from them to bring stand your ground in. However, in the legislation that they have, there is no, I'll use the word and I'll forget it again. There is no immunity if you were to use stand your ground laws to kill and wound somebody who comes into your house. There's no immunity to just simply say, like in Florida, that's it. I felt threatened, they come in my place, I use force. There's no immunity in this stand your ground that they are proposing. This will go to court and you could end up in jail when the police lock you up, waiting for bail, depending on what day they lock you up, and then having to get bail, come out on bail, and then go to court to clear your name from this stand your ground. Okay. Let me see. Stand your ground laws shield racial bias. In Georgia, 3 white men, Greg McMichael, Travis McMichael, and William Brand, invoked the state stand your ground law after they shot and killed Ahmaud Arbery, a 25-year-old black man who was jogging through their neighborhood in February 2020. And in Missouri, April 2023, an 84-year-old white man, Andrew Lester, sought the protection of his state stand your ground laws after he shot and severely injured Ralph Yari, a black teenager who rang Mr. Lester's doorbell believing it was a different address. Yeah? Only be careful. So in every research that I read, there's one area that really, really concerns me. In fact, two areas. In fact, it will be one. That persons of African descent, or brown people, are more likely to be killed with stand your ground laws, and the person who carry out the shooting, the white person carry the shooting, gets away. So I look at it in the context of Trinidad and Tobago. We don't have a large population of persons of Caucasian. We have a large population of Indians and persons of African descent, African people. So let me put it in this context. You see, when people tell you who they are, don't know them. Somebody was just telling me, came to my attention. I'm saying what the person tell me, I have no reason to doubt them. They would have applied, as a person of African descent, they would have applied for a FUL. So they were checking on it just recently. And the person told me they were alarmed to see the amount of people of Indian descent who are now coming to apply for FUL. I want you all to go around memory lane with me and tell me if you all remember this. This was in the Guardian, 2023. Pundit, East Indians under attack in Arangwes. Pundit Satyanyan Maharaj believes that urban youths along the east-west corridor are targeting people of Indian descent in Arangwes, San Juan, and across the country. I say that boldly. They are products of a failed education system. They are products of failed parenting. The miscreants of the east-west corridor who feel that what you have belongs to them. Even if the statistics say 3 were killed in Charlie Village and 1 was killed here, they all have the same complexion. They all come from the same ethnic group, he said during a media conference to address crime in Iran. He made the claims mere meters away from where businessman Shavel Ramjatan was murdered just over a week ago by bandits who were attempting to rob him. Arangwes has been under duress not today. It has been growing steadily. A lot of the business people that you see here have been held up in their homes. Arangwes is like a ghost town at night. Nobody walks the road, he said. He said criminals think East Indians have money because of the size of their houses. And while he did not have official statistics to corroborate his claim, he said the victims usually described the attack. So I'm going to leave it here. Now, this man is a pundit, well respected. He's a pundit. Him, the pundit, well respected in his community. He has made the claim. The police would have came out and said there's no statistics to support what he has said. At that meeting where he would have said that, I think there was a guy of African descent who was Muslim who would have challenged him not to say, basically not to say those things is not true. He continued. And even when the police would have said there's no evidence to support that, he went and he continued saying it. And the thing about it is some people, when you hear urban youth from the east-west corridor, that says black youth, and it says to some PNM people and children. And you hear how he described those urban youth. Failed education system, they are products of failed parenting. Miscreants of the east-west corridor who feel that what you have belongs to them. Even as statistics say, and whatever, and he went on. I heard Dr. David Mohammed speak about crime and Indians in crime. And I would have heard him speak about a certain individual from that area who was involved in crime. It wasn't African. Why he ain't saying it stemmed from back in them time to now? But it's African youth from the East-West corridor. African youth, urban youth. That is virtual to me and hatred that was spoken by a pundit, because even if he had the information that is not true, he still continued. And that was the question that I raised at the consultation yesterday. My concern, after hearing all I hearing, that this stand your ground that they're bringing, it doesn't enhance the Castor doctrine. It doesn't fix something that is lacking in the Castor doctrine that already tells you have the right to protect yourself and your family and your property from people coming into your space, your homes and all that. That is already there. So I'm asking myself, after hearing what his brother told me, that there's a lot of people Indian descent are now applying for guns. This pundit 2020 set the stage saying is urban youth from the East-West corridor. We know that is code for the N-word. Let me not fool myself. And if all of a sudden, if a lot of people Indian descent going to get guns, I ask the question, will we reach a place now where an African youth, whether male or female, or an adult, walking through a Rangwest legally, and because of the hypervigilance, where this pundit say it's urban youth from the East-West corridor targeting, robbing, and killing Indian people in Rangwest Tower and other areas in the country, and they see these youths walking, going about their own business, and they say they perceive a threat. The youths back turn and going, not on them, laughing, talking, pull out their firearm that they get when they're going to apply for understand your ground now, and just shoot down these urban youth, who we know the code is for the N-word. Let me not fool myself. Because in all the states in America who have the stand your ground laws, it speaks that the persons who are most affected is people of African descent. All you think about this, you know. Our culture is not a culture of the rights to bear arms. We have a police service, we have a judiciary, we have counseling, we have guidances, we have all these other measures in place. And if we already have Castle doctrine, and this will stand your ground, again, I'm saying it based on what I hear Larry Lala STC. What does it do to Castle doctrine? What loophole is it fixing? Is it enhancing? The only thing I see is about guns, because to me, to my knowledge, the Castle doctrine law say is a gun you have to use. Any weapon could be used. Anything could become a weapon to use to defend your family. What is this fascination with people getting guns in this very small society? If all you feel these things are true, the psychologist there spoke about, because when I asked him, because I put it to him, because he was speaking about the way that you could perceive yourself having a gun now, that you is a Superman, you're above the world, you could shoot things, road rage, instead of to cuss out and thing whatever, a man jump out the car with the gun and bow, and jump back in the car. All these things can happen. Hypervigilance, you're only looking over your shoulder, you feel everybody want to attack you, think you and a neighbor have a quarrel. I seen Tobago already. One neighbor behind the fence, the next one have the fire and pull at it. What threat? Your neighbor behind his fence with no weapon have that you feel you could pull your gun on the man and stand your ground and pass it. So imagine you and your neighbor, just a little fall. Whether the tree in the yard and the mango falling or talk about it this morning, they get blasted, right? You come outside, as the neighbor come out, or you and your neighbor, they get away, cause thing, and you have thing in your mind, and you're going to kill the person and say, stand your ground. And as I said, there's no immunity. Police getting involved in that, you could end up in jail until, or on bail until. So what it is this stand your ground for? So the psychologist spoke about people could form vigilante groups. And let me tell you, it happened already. That's why I said, don't forget history. I tell you about the pundit who have already have people of Indian descent in a rank where some people, I'm sure it's not all believe what he said, but people of Indian descent in a rank and Sawa and all that is African youths who targeting and robbing them. They want to defend themselves. I don't vex for them. You want to defend yourself and your family. But if you thinking based on what your pundit tell you, a man who is a respected man, that is African youth, because urban youth, the East West Corridor, mean African youth. That is African people who targeting all you. With a gun in all their hand, thin African people, the thing away could simply say, I feel threatened. Because you know the face of crime in this country is the big black man or woman, angry man. And we know that is not true, but that is how they sell it. Again, Dr. David Muhammad tell us about the Indians in crime that come down, but they were never the ones to make the jail because he say them had money for police and judge and this and that. And the people who made the jail was the African people who worked for them, millions they say. So I'm going back again. So the psychologist said, yes, vigilante gangs could be formed and all that. And I tell you, it happened already. Let me tell you when it happened. Or remember Hulsi Bagan? In 1993, former Member of Parliament Hulsi Bagan made an outlandish and dangerous claim when she said that men of African descent were terrorizing and raping women of East Indian descent in central Trinidad. She organized her Chaguanas constituents to march against crime and encouraged them to form vigilante groups to exterminate African men who were targeting their homes of East India. Oh God, let me read this again. I want the independent senators and them because we know the UNC have all the numbers. So it could pass in the House of Representatives. But it had to go to the independent senators. I want them to know the psychologists here. Coming out of that, people could form vigilante groups. It happened already, and it was happened based on a lie. Hulsi Bagan said she was a member of parliament under the UNC under Baze Pandego Resiso. She said that men of African descent were terrorizing and raping Indian women of East Indian descent in central Trinidad. She organized her Chaguanas constituents to march against crime and encouraged them to form vigilante groups to exterminate African men who were targeting the homes of East Indians. According to Gordon Rollet, 2010, Bagan was able to do what none of the victims could. She identified the rapists and determined their motives. In Rollet's article, Deconstructing the Equalizer Beyond a Balance of Terror, he wrote, as of June 1993, police reports revealed that there were 12 rapes in central Trinidad. 5 of the 13 rapes have been committed by East Indian men, and one of the 7 women raped by masked men was of African descent. The identity of the other rapists were apparently unknown. Hulsi Bagan lied. A respected member of parliament, and she told her constituents to form vigilante group and to exterminate African men who were raping Indian women. The Indian pundit in 2023 said, a respected pundit, that Urban youths from the East-West corridor, where we know he mean African youths, were targeting Indian people in a rank west Star One environment. Imagine them getting guns. Imagine if under Hulsi Bagan time they had the opportunity to stand your ground and guns. You know how much innocent African men would have been killed based on the lie? And that lie was taken to go to Canada, where someone running for refugee status. And when the Canadians and they did the investigation, they found it to be a lie. It happened right here in this country. I want the independent senators and them to know all you're holding the lives of people in all your hands. Yes, there's crime. Because one of the constituents of Port of Spinal sentence was Mr. Lara Morton would have spoken about having been a victim and a family of gun crime, home invasion. She spoke about the trauma of it, and she said she's against the stand your ground law because she said even if they had a gun, she could not have done nothing. She said under the circumstances, she could not have done nothing. A gun would not have saved. Her brother got shot. 2 years later, I think it is, or 3 years later, his arm is not healing properly. And the doctors are suggesting that he go away to do a surgery about 50,000 years or something. And she was saved. In those laws there, a fine is how much 100,000 to the state, and this who compensating the victim when they now left with medical bills based on injuries and stuff they would have gotten coming out of a home invasion. Who is going to compensate them? She was a part or involved, not she doing it, but a victim of and a family of home invasion is saying she's against the stand your ground laws. And again, I say, if all they think these things are not real, I want to go further back than 2003 and further back than 1993. I want to go back to 1962, where there was a group, a vigilante group, I say, and this is the Indian organization. Wait, let me know what it is. Indian organization, Trinidad and Tobago, I said as a vigilante group. That is my opinion based on what I read it. When they wanted to stop Trinidad and Tobago from getting its independence, when Regional Capel and his team went up to Marlborough House with Dr. Williams and his team, and Sir Ellis Clark was also up there. And it was for Capel to make sure we did not get our independence. And they were saying down here, if English don't accede to their request, this is what they were planning to do. The Indian Association of Trinidad and Tobago formed an action committee, allegedly for the purposes of planning acts of violence and sabotage, as well as training men for their purpose. It was reported that Conrad Gonzalez, a Trinidadian whose occupation is given as engineer, was appointed the field organizer of the committee. A report, this was a special branch reported, a report indicated that on the 25th of the 5th, 1962, a decision had been taken to attack police stations and bridges and Negroes residing in areas where there is a predominance of East Indian origin. Yeah? That is what they were planning to do in 1962. That is what some of our Indian brothers were planning to do. Carry out violence against people of African descent. Of course, they put it nicely, Negro. We know that is not what they use. Violence against them. 1993, Hulsi Bagan lied and said African men raping Indian woman, and she told her Shoguna's constituents, who we know is mainly of Indian descent, to form vigilante groups and to exterminate African men who come in the area. 2023, a respected pundit is telling people, urban youth, that I am saying he mean African youth on East-West Corridor is targeting Indians in Arangwes, Tawa, and other areas. And today, Mrs. Kamla Prasad Bissetta wants to bring stand your ground legislation to Trinidad that has shown is causing problems in bigger states than us, Florida, and all where they have them. And the people who are most disadvantaged are people of African descent, African Americans. And that crime has increased, not decreased, by everybody owning a gun. It's decreased, it's increased. Gun violence and murders and homicide has increased. It hasn't decreased with people all arming themselves now. So what is the purpose of that in Trinidad and Tobago? Under those circumstances, is it about extinction? I'm asking a question. I call on the independent senators today. Research, read these things and don't just roll over. Ask questions because we are concerned out here. We do not have a culture of bearing arms. We don't. Again, I empathize with persons who would have been victims of crime. I could never be happy about that. I can't be vexed with anybody who wants to protect their home and their family from people coming into their home and stressing them, raping and mauling. I can't vex with them. But you cannot find a solution that will put we in even more problems. That now this victim who protected themselves against the intruder will become themselves a perpetrator of crime. We need to be careful now. Because again, as I understand, laws could be codified. So you have an old law, there's something lacking in it, something you want to put to improve it, whatever, codify. Make it more accessible, you can understand it more. This stand your ground like Kamla Prasad and they are proposing does nothing like that to the CASA doctrine that already exists. But I'm asking this, is it because with stand your ground, because they're making the supporters feel just shoot. Say I feel frightened, I shoot the end down. I shoot the end who come in around west and target way. Any one of them we see, them coming to target we, shoot them down. The back turn, shoot them down. I get with my neighbor because he have a piece of land. Long time I want to buy the land. He look like me. Shoot him down. I just asked, and is that what it is what it is? That is what it is? I thought it was about protecting to make yourself feel safe. They start off saying, stand your ground is to deal with crime. And then we heard the Minister of Homeland Security said, your first defense is your dogs. And then he's speaking about gated communities, walls, gates. And then the Honorable Prime Minister let we know she have a panic button. That is to deter criminals. So if it have all these other measures that can be used, why it can be used in conjunction with the CASA doctrine? What is the need for stand your ground? Because all they put in, as the panel would have said, all they put in the owners of the citizens, keeping themselves safe on the citizens. So then what we need the police. If we had to keep your own self safe, putting up walls as security, how the dogs have gone, thing, and stand your ground. What is the purpose of the police? These are the things that these are the things that the independent senators and all those who glorifying this and all, and yes, it's a good thing. But don't let the emotion get you carried away, because it has something called coulda, shoulda, woulda. Plenty people are sure sitting down in jail today and saying coulda, shoulda, woulda. Emotion not just last for a minute and a time in it. You don't be angry all the time. Man. You don't be sad all the time. You don't be happy all the time. And when you get angry in a space and you don't use good judgment, and something come out of that that ends you up in jail and the emotion gone, you say, you know, I could have walked away. I should have walked away. I should have leave that alone. I should exercise calm. I should. When it's over. But now you have a gun, you're big and you're bad. You ain't care. I vex, bad out. I vex, bodo. I vex, bodo. And when it's over, what happens? What happens then? What happens then? Who are going to be getting all these guns now when they apply? It will only be one race of people who have been told by people who are respected in the communities that is African people robbing them. I just see the putter. Indian people committing crime left, right, and center, but it's not put up where people just see, all they see is African people. Crime is not an Indian or African or Chinese, it's a human thing. Yeah? But they make it an African thing. And if you make crime an African thing and you have respectable people telling you that these African people who crime to them is normal, you have to protect yourself against them. And you give all these people guns, there's no need to think, there's no need to talk anything out. No need for social skills. Just pull your gun. Is that the society that we want and say is crime we're trying to solve? Let me just see all who here. I say enough. But the consultation was a good one, a good idea, and I hear they're going to Central and San Fernando and somewhere up in the east. So wherever you all hear, please go out. Please. You don't have to be a PNM. You don't have to be a UNC. You don't have to vote. You don't have to like this one and that one. Go out and let your voice be heard, please. I'm urging people go out and let your voice be heard. Lay your concern, write down your question, let them ask it, answer it. The information they get go out, because I asked that also. All this education that we get, and what do we do with it? It's not that I didn't know what to do with it. I wanted them to say. I wanted people to hear what them saying we should do. Go out, say party groups, your neighbors, whatever places, you talk, whatever, and inform people. The only way you could do that is if you go and get the information. So I'm urging you all, this is serious, people. It is scary, people. It is serious. The only people going to be disadvantaged with this stand your ground are going to be people who look like me and you. Crime is not an African thing. Crime is a human thing. And we have the right already under Castle Doctrine to protect ourselves, self-defense. It also states proportion for proportion. And what I interpret that if a man come in your house with a penknife and you're defending yourself, taking a cutlass and chopping it into bits is not proportion. Shooting a man 25 times after the first shot he drop on the ground and not moving and they pump 25 bullets. That is not proportional. But these laws that have been there for years, it makes you think about the action. Not think that you're worried and concerned. You have to know. You have to know how threatened that you feel. And that when you tell what happened there, that it will be found that that is what happened. So as I said again, a man can have a penknife in his hand and it's true all your home. And you have a penknife and he breaking them because he breaking your house with a penknife and he ain't supposed to be there because he wrong. You say here what going on, shoot your ass. Because he come in with place. You can't do that. If 2, 3 come in, they have gun on them thing, and you could pull your fireman, get it off, that's a different story. So it has to be proportional. Whatever defense that you're taking, stand your ground, whatever measures you take, it has to be proportional to the threat. You have to make that decision at the end of the day. And if you make the wrong decision, you could end up in court because there is no immunity from getting locked up because you say I stand my ground. You don't have that in them laws that they want to implement. So what's the purpose of these laws? Look, Molly, well, let's just go out to these consultations and please ask questions. Whew, let me see, only I've talked a lot. I'm tired. But before I go, I just want to play these things. Because a Friday night, some people enjoying the little life, so enjoy it now. I just want to play these things. Let me see, let me see. Let me see, let me see, let me see. Where the thing, where the thing, where the thing? I see it just now on the board. Director, if you're listening, you know what I'm talking about. Play this for me. Play it up for me now. Let me see again. Let me see if I can find it. Let me see if I can find it.
And I want to share one further point here with the nation. When the Prime Minister met with the leaders of the energy sector, it was decided to establish what we call an empowered negotiating team of technocrats and led by two ministers. Myself, as Minister of Energy, and the Minister in the Office of the Prime Minister, the Honorable Stuart Young. And today, I want this nation to know that we owe a debt of gratitude to the Honorable Stuart Young for his contribution in this whole exercise. He has been very, very instrumental in these negotiations because as a litigation lawyer, he knew what to say, what not to say. I was there at his side. I've been an expert in the field of energy, but he was the expert negotiator. And both of us worked diligently together as a team to deliver these results for Trinidad and Tobago. That gentleman is young, he is bright, he's productive, he's an extremely hard worker.
Right? Dr. Rudolph Mulilal, in my opinion, is making a mess of the energy sector. And in terms of negotiating and all that, a mess. Because everything they're doing is what has been done already. A mess. Let me just say to everybody, have a blessed weekend. Love you all. All those who are loved on Facebook, thank you all for always supporting me, everybody. All those who are on Bounce Up Central, thank you all so much for supporting me. Thanks to the director for having me on the platform. You all be safe out there. Please, please go out to these consultations and stand your ground. Ask questions. Carry back the information to your groups, whatever party, whatever it is good. Please. To the independent senators, please. Don't just roll over and take this thing. This is serious, our society. We don't have a culture of one of being armed. That is not a part of our constitution. It's not our constitutional right. We are just a small society, 1.5 million. Can we tell? 1.5 million people. We do not have a history or a culture of everybody being arms, the right to bear arms. Yes, crime is a runaway horse. Yes, people are being affected daily by it. Yes, people are angry. They want to get some results. I have no problem with that. But don't let us bring a solution that we think would help that creates another type of problem in our society. Kamla Prasad says and they fired about 40,000 workers from the lower rung of the society. The whole ground on the ground economy is shattered. All these small businesses, small shops, all these little areas, the market vendors and street vendors, all that has been affected because these are the people who kept that economy going. We will see a fallout from that. Children and these people who got sent home unceremoniously have children, they have family, they will be affected. And on top of that, you want to bring standing where everybody could have gone. And I hear there's a lot of people of Indian descent going for gun after they have been hyped up saying it's African people. Because urban youths, when I think about it, as African people targeting them, doing them this, we not cool. See, Bagan said it back in 1993, 1962. They say this kind of thing they want to do to African people. What it has happened? We do it. Listen to me. Why we can't build this society together? It's not all Indians that think so. Not all Africans into this and that. Not all Indians into this and that and other races. Why can't we build this society? Why we have to get people like Kamra Pasavi Sasande who only thinking negative? Look at the man who's sitting down today in the industrial court as a judge. A worker who he fired because she went to a prayer meeting on a Sunday for a PNM council. She's UNC, a PNM council. Must she good friend with a prayer meeting, you know. He fired, she called she on the phone and fired she the Sunday night, 10 p.m. He's sitting down right now as a judge in the industrial court. The woman went she case, but the union are talking about that. Felicia said we go get 10%. We starting point 10%. This budget, the Minister of Finance, next fiscal year 2026. Not a word. And them living nice, everything nice. And they want to introduce into all that now. People have gone. Stand your ground. What we really doing, boy? Let me bring back this love in this country. Let me bring back this love. People, be safe this weekend. See you all on Monday. Go spend a comment something, press something new. This is your Jen, Sister Jenny, Auntie Jenny. If you want to get formal as Miss Jennifer Cedric, another edition. I love you, talk beauty.
Grenada, Grenada, the black man, thank you. Grenadians teach me my biggest lesson. And who alone from them I am sorry. But listen to the lessons Grenadians teach me. They teach me capital, social or communism. It's the same gun with all of them on. And from the time you team up with them, like Grenada, you're straight on the losing end. My friend, my friend. Want to stay away from them is all them is confusion. You must have a nuclear weapon. Just to. What is on with the gun telling you to vote? One saying to vote with a bomb at your throat. They're saving all their arms and ammo for me and selling the wheat for the enemy. Got to stay away from them ism. All them ism is just schism. From the time you team with one of them ism, the first thing they're talking about is protection. Double tax of people fool your treasury. You got to maintain an efficient army. And too much pressure from the opposition. They could always rent you a whole battalion. And when you get in exism out the way, how much life it costs you could never see. No way, no way, no way. Got to stay away from them ism. All them ism is confusion. You must have a nuclear weapon just to hold on to your ism. Rescue mission to help Grenadian. Rescue mission to Afghanistan. Rescue mission going the world over, but no rescue mission to South Africa. Got to stay away from them ism. All them ism is just schism. Remember when Grenada had a ism that everybody say was mongoose oppression. The other ism just take up some gun, and they had the whole mongoose back on the run. 4 years later, the thing turned back around. It's the same mongoose doctrine preaching in town, and Grenadians keep suffering evermore. All the taxpayers' money going for war, and more war, and more war. But to stay away from them ism. All them ism is confusion. You must have a nuclear weapon just to hold on to your ism. They say how to keep sports on politics. Every 4 years they boycott an Olympic. And while we arguing about who good and who bad, them gone out in space and exchanging flag.
Got to stay away from them ism.
All them ism is just schism. The time is right now more than ever for man to sit down and write the new order, where man would respect a man as a man, and not through color and superior weapon, where he must be equal, righteous and fair, and realize that the earth is for all to share, and to its fellow man always be true. But until that day come, here what I go do. And you too, and you too. Got to stay away from them ism.
All them ism is confusion.
You must have a nuclear weapon just to hold on to your ism. One ism say come, one ism say go. One ism say yes, the next one say no. And while we keep fighting the ism war, we people keep getting poor and more poor. Got to stay away from them ism. All them ism is just schism.